The last time I saw this man, we were on a stage during a Q&A for the screening of Goon, The Last of the Enforcers, which he wrote and directed. It's really impressive to get a movie made, but even more impressive to get a movie made in Canada. If you're of a certain age, you may have been introduced to Jay Baruchel in the show Undeclared, or perhaps in the movie Knocked Up as a stoner alongside Seth Rogen and them boys, or perhaps you've been at the Bell Center screaming, cheering on the Montreal Canadiens. It is my pleasure to have actor, writer, director, and current RBC financial explorer in a series of TV commercials. Jay Baruchel, welcome to the Cabbie Presents podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, and sorry to you and to your listeners about, how much I'm on everyone's YouTube and stuff.
No, man, I'm watching that on broadcast like it's Football Sunday and you're
trying to
popping
get you
up.
to save some money, man. That's all.
I appreciate it. Have you figured out what a T... you probably knew all that stuff, but you have to sound like such a knucklehead?
No, I didn't know, man. I was basically like, does this sound like I know what I'm saying? All right, good, awesome. All right, yeah.
So then that was real. That wasn't acting. You're like, you
Not
really
at
didn't know,
No.
like a GIC or whatever the hell do you say?
I don't know what I still don't know. Nobody informed me there either.
See, I was coming, like, I was going to use part of this podcast to get some financial advice from you.
Yeah, terrible plan.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
And then I'll save my $70. When we were at the Goon screening, so you had all your actors on stage, and it was here in Toronto, and your mom, okay, so Goon, as people know, it's bloody, it's violent, and your character is foul. Like, I don't know if you wrote the stuff that you specifically said, or if you just freestyled it.
God awful, yeah.
But your mom was in the audience, and I don't. Was your grandma also in the audience?
My Auntie Helen. Yeah.
Okay, Auntie, Mom, and Auntie Helen. Did you prepare them for what they were going to, when it's specifically the stuff that was going to come out of your mouth?
Yeah, to an extent. Like, Mom had visited the set, and there's like one scene in that movie where I talk about sleeping with my cousin, and then so I mime intercourse with a set of frings from Harvey's, and
delicious.
It is delicious, and still no Harvey's Goon tie-in was ever found, and I don't know why. Anyway, Mom was there, and I was like doing an impression of like my cousin or something horrible, not a real cousin, my character's fictional cousin, and I come out, I say cut to myself, and I step outside, and my mom's got headphones, so she throws them off. I was like, what the hell? That is vile.
Right.
Vile. Your mother is here. I was like, I know, but I still had to shoot the movie. And so what was so funny, throughout that screening that you were at, Mom and Auntie Helen would look at me like, and just shake their heads like, come on, really? Really? This is what you bring us to? But of course, my cousin and her husband kept giving me thumbs up every time.
Like,
this is good stuff.
Was that their introduction to the bluest of your material? Or have there been some like family functions where you just like, the whiskey's flowing?
Oh, no, Auntie Helen swears worse than any of us.
Does she?
Oh, yeah. No, I distinctly remember being at my Uncle Doug's funeral, and we were all finding our place to sit, and they'd put a seat for Helen by herself, and she said in front of everybody, well, what am I, the queen? Like, why? No, I'm going to sit with my family. Thank you very much. This isn't a funeral.
Wow.
Like, this isn't her husband's funeral. So yeah, no, we all swear a lot in my family.
Auntie Helen sounds like she goes hard.
Oh, she really does.
And like,
yes,
Auntie Helen could be like the equivalent of just lit as like, Auntie Helen just goes live.
She's nothing. She has nothing to prove to anyone.
Is she from Ontario, or is she from the East Coast?
She grew up in rural Quebec, but has lived in like basically St. Thomas and London for the past 30 years. Yeah.
I was doing like a moderate dive on your IG page, and I saw which I think is kind of dope, the driver's license photos, you and your lady, which look like mugshots.
Yes,
and I was like, I've never seen that before. But then also I was like, Ontario, I didn't realize that
I moved here, full on moved here.
When did you move here? To Toronto and
I moved to Ontario like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the previous... Have you been going back and forth to Los Angeles?
I mean, there was always a reason that brought me down there, but I like never wanted to like live there. So I'd always go back to Montreal. I would just do these stints in Los Angeles. And like I said, never wanted to move there. So instead of moving to Los Angeles, I moved to Toronto, which is the Canadian equivalent of selling out.
Well, if you're from somewhere else, yes. Somewhere outside of Toronto.
If you're from outside of Toronto.
Yeah. The movie, The Art of the Steal, was that set in Niagara Falls, or was it? It was.
Yeah,
and did you guys like shoot there too?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I got the scared out of me because I was there and I had an off day. We shot in Niagara Falls in February. Have you been to Niagara Falls in February?
No,
it's
sir.
Empty. It's empty. There was one sad family crawling up the hill against the wind. The husband was clearly cheap, and the wife was reminding him of other people go nice places, and you brought us here in February, you cheap. But so I had a day off, and I was like, I'm going to do all the Clifton Hill specialties. I'm going to see all the cool and Wax Museum, Ripley's,
man, that's
Haunted
all in the
House,
same block,
all
my G.
of it, man. Yeah, exactly, right? So I'm going to do it. So I was like, I smoked a big joint to myself, went out for a walk. Of course, I go into the haunted house in February. Which is, let's say, it's the off season, but they were still open, and I think I was the first customer that had in weeks because they went hard on me, and I tried my best. I lost my. I was as high as I've ever been, and with a house full of people, and I'd hear them stirring ahead of me, and so my way to sort of calm myself down was I hear you kind of moving about. I know you're there. I know you guys are there. You're really good. This is really good. I don't know what I thought that would do. That's not like, oh, thanks, Jay. You're like, no. And it didn't calm me down one bit.
I mentioned that movie because it was very clever. It's a really well-done film.
It's a good flick.
And I was listening to a podcast with Keegan-Michael Key of Key and Peele fame. He was on Bill Simmons' podcast. And he's doing a movie, or just shot a movie with Craig Robinson and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
The Dolomite movie.
Dolomite
movie.
Yeah.
So in Art of the Steal, Kurt Russell is the star of the film. And not that he was as big as Eddie Murphy, but in the 80s and 90s, he was a big star.
Legitimate movie star.
When you're in a production with one of these types, and shout out to Tropic Thunder, there's Downey Jr. also, and obviously Ben Stiller directs the movie. How hard is it for you to not want to geek out about film stuff?
Very hard. So what I try to do is earn their trust. I try to be no, I'm just a guy working with you, man. We're all equals here. I don't want to make you uncomfortable any more than you want me to. But once I've succeeded at that at that bit of pantomime, because it's all lies. I'm lying when I do all
You're
that.
acting.
I'm really acting. It's the best acting I do is convincing famous people I'm normal. And once I've earned their trust, then I start to just poke around and see what anecdotes, and some of them love talking about it, and some of them hate it.
Who hates it?
Oh, I can start with who loves it.
Okay, sure.
I was lucky enough that Kurt loves telling stories, and he loves telling set stories, and he is in so many of my very favorite movies. So I got multiple anecdotes from John Carpenter's The Thing, multiple anecdotes from Big Trouble in Little China, Tango and Cash. It was Tombstone, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Great flick.
The coolest. When I did RoboCop with Michael Keaton,
right?
Same, man.
He loves telling stories too.
He really does.
Sick.
And he would tell me stories from the set of Batman and how goofy he felt in the suit and all this stuff, and it was just this is kind of cool.
That is sick.
And I was present because also Gary Oldman's in that movie, and he's
in RoboCop.
Yeah, and he's one of my heroes. And again, another very nice man who I talked his ear off, and he had the patience of a saint. But what's so cool was, so he's Commissioner Gordon in the new Batman movies, and so I was present on set when the two of them put that together.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton said, "Aren't you in the?" He's like, "Yeah, Commissioner Gordon." He's like, "Yeah, Batman." He's like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And I got to that, I was like, "Ah!"
Oh, they'd never met before?
No.
Oh, wow.
And it was also,
that's cool.
And it was the first time that it had occurred to them that Commissioner Gordon and Batman were together again.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool one.
That is cool. Yeah. Robinson was Keegan-Michael Key said Robinson. He was the guy that asked Eddie everything. He felt no ways about it. And it seems like you're a little more careful because
slightly.
And also on Art of Steel, Terrence Stamp was in there.
Oh
Did you get to meet Terrence Stamp?
Yes, I
who
did.
was was he General Zod in Spider?
Yes, he was.
in
Superman 2.
And Superman 2, and then I just know from like the Soderbergh flick.
The Limey, and then
the
I
Limey,
think,
yeah.
and I
Tell him
think
Wilson's coming.
And I think of Young Guns, you know. Cowboy
with
movie.
Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen.
They're avenging his death. They're avenging his murder in Young Guns, and so lovely man.
Did you get any anecdotes out of him?
Yes, his great love of Vancouver, and Terrence Stamp moved to Vancouver for like a 10-year period in the night.
That was about a girl.
Yeah,
for sure.
It might have been. It might have been. All he does is eat toast with a bit of butter.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a gentleman.
He seems very proper.
He is. He very much is.
As I'm talking about like geeking out over film stuff, we are sports fans. So sports fans can, depending on who you're around, if you feel comfortable, you can go like super long, like 90-minute deep dives into. You're wearing a Montreal Canadiens cap, you know, Blanc and Price and all different eras of the Montreal Canadiens, or you can just sometimes when fans are just too aggressive, do you just do you meet their energy as far as like they want to tell you about their fantasy team or stats or get your opinion on how they're going to do in the Stanley Cup playoffs, or do you just kind of retreat, and then kind of keep it moving? Yeah,
the second one. I've got enough friends. I'm not. No, it's. You know, when people share that stuff, they want nothing more than for someone to think that's cool, and they're pleased as punch at all the work and effort and time they put in, and I don't want to step on that. So I was like, oh, that's ever neat, man. You know, but I'm like, I don't need to get over there and see it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. You've written a book called Born Into It, which is a memoir about the first love of your life, the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
Whether it's been in at a rink or at a sports bar or somewhere else. What's the closest you've ever gotten to like an altercation over differing sports opinions?
God.
Or, you know, you're on your 12th Molson Canadian.
Yeah.
And
always, 90% of those are in the States.
Right.
I like every time I've gone to see, like, so if I happen to be in California when the Habs come through, then I'll go see the Kings and sometimes the Ducks, although I hate going out to Anaheim and I hate that stadium. And this is 20,000 people going, it was like duck kazoo thing they give out to everybody. But it's just thoroughly whack. But the closest I've come to scraps in my adult life has always been in L.A. at the Staples Center during a Habs game. Yeah. Because it takes on this weird nationalistic quality when the Habs are playing an American team and you're in the States. And it's like, it's this weird thing where it's meant to just be two teams in the same league. But if that's the case, then why do we sing national anthems at the beginning of these games? So they force the nationalism kind of on you. True. They force this tribalism on you. Yep. And I'm a patriot, so I'm not going to wilt from it. But without fail, we beat the piss out of them. They get all pissed off. And they don't seem to like it when out-of-towners are cheering in their building. Nobody does.
Right.
But they seem to take it especially personal down there. And it's either those are the times that I've come very close. Like, 2 years ago I almost hit somebody in a men's room. But of course,
hold on. I
wasn't trying to fight around a bunch of pee. You know, like a bunch of guys with their out. You know, like I'm not sort of.
Wait, hold on. Wait, before you continue. Okay, you're in the how to give me. I need. We're missing some steps.
Sure.
Before we get to the point where there's almost blows exchanged.
Yeah, I drank a bunch of pop and and my bladder filled with it. My body extracted what it needed from it, and what was left was urine that needed to be expelled. I went to the washroom at the end of the game. And it's one of these terrible men's rooms that's got two entrances.
Yeah.
So,
but you kind of need that though.
It should. It's one's in, one's out. That's how it's supposed to be, I think.
Yeah.
And then it just ends up being this like two lanes of traffic merging. Yeah. Inevitably, someone's nose is going to get out of joint. And me and some random kid walked in at the same time, and there's some drunk dude on his phone came in the other way. We got in before him because we were ahead of him. And he's on his phone, and he comes and taps me on the shoulder. He's like, I'm ahead of you. You cut in front of me. I was like, no, I didn't, man. I didn't. And the kid behind me was like, no, he didn't. I saw it. No, he didn't. He's like, it's just you cut in front of me. I was like, no, I didn't, man. And I was like, okay, you're gonna pee. I'm gonna pee. Everybody's gonna pee. Just chill out, man. And he's on the phone the whole time, and it's just rude. I was like, yeah, it is rude. Then I lose it because it's rude because you're picking a fight with me in the bathroom, man.
And you're on your phone like a total.
I'm not gonna fight you in the bathroom. And what the best was we finally parted ways. I go to pee, and one of the guys at the urinals pees goes, I guess he didn't know you wrote Goon. I was like, hey!
Nice.
Yeah, those ones don't happen. It was the nicest thing any man holding his has ever said to me.
Have you ever seen a game in Boston? And if you've seen a hockey game in another arena, Chicago, Pittsburgh, whatever, have you ever been there where they do the USA, USA chant?
Yep.
And which just makes no sense because half of the guys on the team
they're all Canadians.
They're all Canadians.
Yes, no, and and in Montreal we're real close to Boston, and so all these Boston kids can come up and get drunk at 18 in our city, and they come up full of piss and vinegar. I will say this. In my lifetime, every year I see less and less of them making the trip up because they didn't always get the warmest welcome. I'll say whenever the Bruins came to the Bell Center, it's the only time I saw cops at the Bell Center.
Really?
And there were routinely fights, and they routinely got to this aggro because that Montreal-Boston thing that's like 10 dimensions of hate. And like there's
generational hate for sure.
There's so much going on there, and especially when if America goes and invades some country, the Bell Center lets the Bruins know what they think of that. But the best sort of the best kind of reply I heard to the USA chant was, we were in the playoffs. We beat their ass. We're walking home. I got my friend and I. We're those that wear the playoff towels as bandanas and all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and these Boston kids are walking away chanting USA, USA, and these two Italian or Greek girls on our side of the street. Hey, USA, you suck ass! And I was like,
with a little bit of broken English. Yeah, that's so good.
It was amazing. The most Montreal Jeanette response ever. Yeah.
So the book, Born Into It, how. And I'm sorry that you've already answered this question 70,000 times, but is it just starting just as a notepad document, or you just have 30 stories that you have to get out of your brain and then you just start?
It kind of started with a few anecdotes that I would tell people about my dad or whatever that people found funny or interesting, and your dad was quite the character. You should write something about him.
Did you ever call your dad by his first name? Are you one of those?
No.
Okay. Because you have some friends that call their parents by their first and their first names.
No, my parents. My mother was a disciplinarian, so I had nothing but the one time I'd ever test the raptor wire. I test the enclosure. I'd get uppity or something, and I'd call. I was oh yeah, thanks for nothing. What did you say, you little? And then I get bam on the back of the head.
Yeah. As you should.
As I should. No, as I should. So no, I never called Dad Sayers. I valued my life too much. No, that'd be the worst.
So there are some anecdotes about your dad, and was your love of hockey passed down from father to son?
Yeah, I mean, in a kind of roundabout, complicated way, because I clashed with him a fair bit, and. We all have to go through that process of not all, but a lot of people have to go through the process of kind of rebelling against your surroundings and what you were raised in. And so in my rebelling against my dad, I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater because watching sports was his thing and playing sports was his thing. And I liked movies and I liked comics. And I didn't think that you could be both. You kind of have to be one or the other was the binary understanding of a 9-year-old. And so I kind of, like I said, I projected all my dad issues onto the Habs, and they paid the price for it. Not that they were missing my fandom as a 12-year-old, but however, it was always on in my house. Even at the time where I had, the apex of my clash with my father, I was never going to be a fan of another team. I was just raised in Bleu, Blanc, Rouge. All my was painted those colors. I always had to rep that no matter what. So even if I got annoyed at my dad, it's if I got annoyed at my mom, that didn't mean and I thought the Catholic Church was silly. I still had a reverence and a respect for it because it came before me and it was something I was raised in. It means something to my parents. And so that's the Habs were that for me. And then once I got into sort of late teens, early 20s, I was able to realize that I can enjoy sports doesn't mean I have to play them.
Right. Yeah, me too. That's why we're here, speaking into microphones, my friend.
That's right.
We're not at a friggin' CrossFit gym just trying to stay lean for the next game.
That's someone else's game.
Yeah, exactly. But in your early childhood, and you had so there's the 86. Do you have any memory of are you too young for 86? Or is 93 more the one that you remember?
So I was 4 during the first one, and I'd have been 10 or 11 the second time. I remember things happening. And I remember the 86 one. Why I remember that one is because in 1987, in April of 87, when I turned 5, my birthday present from my parents that year, and it was so lost in me as a 4-year-old. As a grown-up, I am so thankful I have it. I have in Montreal Canadiens letterhead, I have this big manila envelope addressed to me. That it has signed 8 black and white glossy 8x10s of the entire 86-87 Montreal Canadiens team.
Sick.
With an autographed letter from Bob Gainey to me.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
And you still have it?
Yeah.
Oh, that is dope. Is it framed or is it mounted?
No, I have it in the envelope in safekeeping in a keepsake box.
Okay.
One day I'll do something with it. But it was this my dad was a real what you call a chazer. That's this sort of Yiddish term for hustler, and he could he could find a way. He could pull it out of his arse when he needed to, and so no other kid woke up that morning with that, and so that's So that's why I'll remember that team, and then the '93 team. I just remember my dad being just drunk as shit at the cottage, celebrating, years of being the only Habs fan in Oshawa, and then he jumps out into the woods and he has a place to get drunk and just celebrate and scream, Stanley Cup over and over again.
That's a fun memory,
yes.
and it could have went sideways had they lost.
Yes.
I think in '93 they played. It was LA Kings.
That's right.
And
That's
Wayne
right.
Gretzky's.
That's right.
Wayne Gretzky's Kings. So that was the genesis of the book, and then in Born Into It, are there any anecdotes of you with any of the players or your own nights on Rue St. Catherine or
there's a few.
What's the other one? The Cooler Street? St. Catherine's kind of the tourist
St.
street.
Lawrence.
Yeah, St. Lawrence. Yeah,
or St. Laurent. Yeah. I put all of that stuff in there. I try my best not to betray the trust of some of the guys that I know who do it,
That's fair.
But I also
you have to come up with pseudonyms. Not
no, but it's also
KP Muban,
KP Muban, and Pax Macheretti,
Perry
Christ. No, but I also, in the interest of transparency, if I have an opinion, I owe it to the reader to let them know where my biases lie. And so if there's somebody whose company I enjoy, in addition to being a fan of them, I feel like it behooves me to mention that. So I do have to tell people that I know PK and that I get along with him real well. And in addition to thinking he's the best player we've drafted in a generation, I think he's an awesome dude that loved that town, loved wearing that sweater, and we punished him for it. But I have to sort of pick my battles. I've been lucky enough to know a bunch of these dudes, but my opinions of that team are independent of my friendships kind of with them, I think.
Okay. You're a fan. You're not someone who's at our place we have Bob McKenzie and James Duthie who have to analyze the game.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes they got to if the team is struggling like it was the past few years, and they got to say, this team's
I have to
garbage soup.
I share my opinion. I always share my opinion. But at the same time, I get along and know these guys, and so it's this weird thing of I just have to pick my battles when it's worth it.
Right. I always find it have you encountered this before where I'm friends with a football player, and he's invited me to a game in the past, come down, whatever, and but now I kind of want to go, but I'm not sure because and people probably have this relationship with you because you're a public figure, and so they're if you're if you're in the city, hit me up, if you're in Los Angeles or something.
And I assume you get those emails.
Way smaller scale. Okay, I might get 2 of those text messages a year. You've had 2 or 20 since we sat down and had this conversation. But when they, and maybe this feels like a little bit of a Larry David conversation. So So yeah, now I want to go to this football game.
Yeah.
And but I'm like, I don't know if like was the offer genuine, or was it just like that friendly sort of cordial thing that you say to people?
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I never know what to do in that scenario either. And then,
like, if you were pressed to get, if you press, like, you wanted to say it's like the conference finals or something, they're playing Washington.
Yeah, I'll call.
Okay.
No, listen, because at that point it's them or me, and my desire to see the game outweighs my fear of inconveniencing them. Because, by the way, if they can't get tickets, they'll say they can't get tickets. So they always have the option when they offer you something and you take them up on it. They have that out. They have an out saying, "Hey man, sorry, it's the playoffs. I can't afford it. I would any other night I'd have tickets." Like they have a bunch of excuses they can lay on you. So I think you should call your buddy and get and go see him.
Yeah, and I just don't want to, and there's like a delicate balance, and people have to do the same with you. It's like how much is too much to like message someone, and it's like a real, I don't know, it's like skating on friggin' Lake Louise, but in like April.
Yeah,
like, not in like the heart of the winter where the ice is like this thick.
I get to come up and hide from LA and New York up here, and then once a year during like TIFF or Just for Laughs in Montreal, LA and New York are in my place, and they're like, "Oh man, you've been telling us how awesome these places like Toronto is. Show us that you chose the city."
Oh man. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I never thought this would happen. Like,
and they're like 9 days.
The chickens have come home to roost. I am ill prepared. I eat off of like the food I eat. I buy at Shoppers Drug Mart. Like I'm not.
I'm right there with you, homie. I'm on two for four. Whenever there's something on sale, I buy.
I'm not the guy to take you out anywhere. Yeah.
I feel like we're spirit animals.
Yes.
Like you're part of the same tribe.
Yeah, you and I can both avoid our guest obligations together.
Yes. I just hide out somewhere, like just some little dive bar somewhere.
That's it.
Okay, you mentioned when you're shooting the movie Art of Steel, you just had like a day to yourself. You went and you got totally lifted, which leads me to Knocked Up, excuse me.
Yeah.
And there's all you guys. Your scenes are like, I don't know, 6 or 7 actors, and I'm sure you guys are all friends. And also makes me think of This Is the End.
Yeah.
Is there a story that you can tell us that you rarely tell, or your favorite story to tell? Either just, guys, like one guy is the butt of all the jokes, he's getting it from all sides, or just something just very bizarre happening, like some crazy admission. Some dude's like, and then, this one time I was in San Jose, and then...
Well, Robinson is full of stories. I'll say this. He told me I must be the realest motherfucker he's ever met, which was because he asked me what I did last night, and I said I ate a tin of Chef Boyardee's and watched a documentary and fell asleep. I got high and ate some Chef Boyardee's. No,
that is pretty real.
I'll say this. Bunch of good dudes dropped in New Orleans for 3 months with per diem,
for which movie?
For This Is the End.
This is the okay.
Yeah. I have some people might like to know in a movie that takes place entirely in L.A. and heaven, the only scene that was shot in L.A. was the heaven scene. Everything else was New Orleans made to look like Los Angeles.
And all those actors were in New Orleans. Like there's so many cameos. in that movie.
They brought everybody.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Rihanna, everyone. They were all there. I'm trying to think of like what I'd be allowed to mention.
What I heard from that set was, I think, like, didn't McBride come later in the...
Yeah,
and then not everybody, but he was kind of like the new guy as far as that group of actors, right?
Yeah, indeed. And although I think even Jonah comes after him, but Danny came after. I obviously... I'll say this, the like sort of dynamic that Jonah and I have in that movie... not dissimilar from our reality. Well, my cigarette was an excuse because I really went outside because Jonah was being a prick.
Jonah was not being a prick. If anything, you were kind of being a prick. Jonah's the nicest guy ever, man.
Oh, my God. That's the thin veneer of kindness. And, we have an understanding now. But there's a scene in that movie where I, like, hit him in the face real hard. And... I made sure that...
You connected?
No, but the next best thing. I just, like, had him on edge. Like, he and I just didn't enjoy each other's company through 3 months of shooting, and then it came time to shoot this scene, and And I all of a sudden I tried to scare the out of him by like being nicer to him than I've been the whole rest of the shirts. I was like, hey man, no, it's all good. Oh, I got you. I'm not gonna hit you.
Oh, just right before.
Because
and then you just get that proof.
I
like
always,
right
I just coming real close, and I'd always see him talking to the stunt coordinator before every take. So where is he throwing that punch? I was like, we've practiced it. You know where I'm throwing it. And then he'd say action. I try to get her as close as I could. And
I wonder if in the back of his mind, it's like, this guy really likes hockey. Hockey, they fight all the time.
Well, it was just like every once in a while. You eat the bar eats you. You know?
I like it. In Knocked Up, was there ever, like, everything are props, yeah?
Sadly, yes. Everyone wants that to be actual weed. Even the Trailer Park Boys. It's all fake. It's all fake. Now, every once in a while, it might not be. I'll say this. I've never smoked weed on camera in a movie or a TV show for real. Some people, I know some who have. But no, what's so funny is on, like, This Is the End or something, like we'd go in and be shooting on set with a bunch of fake weed. But then we'd all go to our trailers and there'd be actual weed.
It's like piles of real weed.
It was this kind of like, it was like, yes, we have to go through this procedure. But it's sort of like, I mean, come on, nobody's a fool here.
That's why Robson called you the realest dude ever, because like you're eating the Chef Boyardee and watching the documentary in your trailer with just a nice little.
I was
serving.
the only one who was. I was not only one, but no, I was always. I'm sober on set. I'm always sober on set. My girl at the time was not. So like, you know, she'd be in my trailer all day doing whatever, and she'd just like, she'd take her pipe into the bathroom, and then like, you know, so I lived like the rest of them. But no, I'm always sober on set, unless I have very, very little to do. Like if I have to like be one of 6 people running around and not talking. Maybe I can take a bit of the edge off.
Or in like Tropic Thunder, you just have like a belly full of just guts, and you're just reacting like
There's one
pulling
shot.
all the guts out of your.
There's one shot in that sequence where I am stoned, and that's only because. So
wait, stoned in real life or?
Yeah, because I had a day off. I was told I had a day off, and I didn't. And so what happened was like, so we're shooting. Tropic Thunder opens with this big ass battle sequence, right? Yeah. And it just kind of devolves. So that was the first stuff we shot in the movie. And at a certain point, I'm not front and center. At a certain point, it's all about Downey and Stiller and Coogan and all this different. And so you get into what's called a hold day. They say like, all right, we're not sure. We think you're probably not coming in. Don't bother coming to set, but stay at the hotel in case we need you, right? Well, what happens when you have 5 or 6 hold days in a row is you start to like be like, they're not calling me in.
Right.
And you get into these terrible routines of like, so I was literally smoking weed in my bathroom at the hotel in Hawaii when they're like, all right, Jay, so actually we're going to see you today. So there's a van coming to get you in 50. And so I start doing, I don't know why I chose this, but I did 50 push-ups right away to wake myself up, and then like pounded an OJ, and then I started like running a lot. I was just like trying to like, I don't know why, I just thought it would kind of wake me up a bit, you know. And then I got to set, and mercifully, I think I was just in the background of one. I just had to lie up in the helicopter in the background, and so that was scary because like I don't like showing up with like a buzz on. I like to be at work, and that's that. And because also the whole day, half of my day is inside my head being like, they can tell I'm stoned, can't they? Everyone's talking about what an embarrassment I am, aren't I? I must stink. I bet I stink. Am I talking too much? I'm overcompensating. I never connect to people this much. Like I just,
just like so many
just
mind games,
sheer paranoia. You know?
And then just if someone looks at you, you're just like one of these.
Yep.
And
exactly. No, it's horrible. I don't like it. Part of me also thinks it's like it's a place of business. And if I was to do it, the only reason I'd be allowed to do it is because I'm one of the like actors or I'm famous-ish, and no one's going to tell me not to. Well, the PA doesn't get that opportunity. PA can't roll into set and get a buzz on. He'll get fired.
Right.
So like that's to me that I should be able to do that, and he can't. So I try to like, if we're in it, we're in it.
Got it. Man, you are wildly entertaining.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And obviously, we could tell in your films and the projects that you choose. And I'm sure just diving into this book, born into it, they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I was in one of those bathroom fights." Or like wherever you take us on this journey of fandom and these memories and all these connections that we have to our teams and this tribalism that we had, we have. I'm sure it'll be just a fun journey.
Thanks, Cab.
It was great. It was great to talk to you, man.
Cheers, likewise.
I look forward in the future to us bunkering down during TIFF or Just for Laughs in 2019
when we
or
both
2020.
have out-of-town guests and visiting.
And it's like a random Monday night, and someone who's on vacation just wants to go hard. It's like, it's Monday.
No, buddy.
Yeah.
It's pajamas at 7:45, man. I'm trying to get cozy.
We'll try to make sure that our signals are on the same,
Yeah, buddy.
on the
That's
same
it.
frequency. And
use me as your cozy out anytime.
Okay, will do. Pleasure speaking to you, man.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.